On True Detective, how did you get that part? You mentioned this to me earlier.
I had to go and
interesting.
audition like anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a casting director who had never heard of me. And, they're all young. I mean, they're different generations. And she ran out to my assistant in the car and said, "Wow, she is terrific. Why haven't we seen her before?"
And I love that you were saying that they had to actually age you.
They put a gray wig on me and lots of lines on my face. And this last one I played, the most wicked part, worse than the wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz. And I just decided that's what I've got to do now. Not try to look young, try to look old.
Like a tomato.
Yeah, exactly. Put a gray wig on and let them line me up all they want.
I looked at this online earlier. It's called Amy in a Cage,
In a cage.
right?
I want to give Betty White a run for her money. I love Betty.
Good for you. Good for you. I just saw that you were listed as like wicked grandmother, and I said, "Oh, this has got to be good." Okay. And you're doing this picture with Crispin Glover, right?
Yes, he's strange.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna say, like, wow. Okay, you worked with Lee Marvin and Keenan Wynn, and this I thought was strange, but
Yeah.
okay, Crispin Glover.
Strange.
Wins the strange sweepstakes.
Yes.
Any stories that you can share with us in advance of this film's release this fall?
Well, I'll tell you, I had every emotion there is in that movie. I mean, from flirtation with him, because he's like a pimp that is trying to get my money, and to torturing Amy, and it was just everything. Drama, too. I've never had anything so dramatic.
Wow.
And comedy, everything.
Terry, you are amazing. You are like a force of nature. It's still going strong. I have to ask you about the whole Howard Hughes thing. We talked about this years ago when I did an interview with you. And it fascinates me because Howard Hughes was such a significant figure in movie history, in American history, but movie history especially. I've said many negative things about Howard Hughes as a studio boss over the years, but an absolutely astounding, fascinating person. And your story is that no one really knew this, but you and he were married at sea. Tell us this story. Give us the background to this.
Well, it was very significant in my life, and I wanted to keep it a secret because I went on and married and had 2 sons. And the Hughes family, when they found our marriage certificate after he had died, they were afraid I was going to sue, so they sued me. The family did. And I said, I don't want anything, but I've written a book and called The Beauty and the Billionaire. Actually, it was called Howard, Be Thy Name. And I said, I just want you to come out and say that I was married to him legally, and that's all I want. And so that was it.
Yeah.
And Howard was a very significant part of my life. I got up this morning and told my assistant, I said, "You won't believe who I dreamed about last night." And she said, "Who?" And I said, "Howard." And he was the first love of my life. And he taught me to fly. I was the 3rd woman in the world to fly jets. I've jumped with the 82nd Airborne. I love to do things like that. And I still dream, and there was never a romance. He was just the greatest person I ever knew was Ty Power. And now his son wants me to be his mother. So I am a mother to Tyrone Power, whatever, 4th, 5th, whatever he is. And I just love him.
Now, is that true that you worked with Leonardo DiCaprio when he played Howard Hughes in The Aviator?
Oh yes, I'm Aunt Terry to Leo. I just love him.
Tell me a little bit about that. And what did you think of the movie, having known Howard Hughes that well? What did you think of the film?
I liked it until they went to an ending which wasn't true, and I just think Leonardo should have had an Academy Award so many times. And he's just fantastic. I love him to pieces. And he was too young to play the role, and Jane Russell helped him too. She was my best friend, and Jane said, "Leo, we love you, but you're no Howard." But he really was in the younger years. I mean, I didn't know him then, but that scene that he did where he makes fools of the Senate, Howard. I could have sworn it was Howard. I fell in love with Leo in that scene. It was wonderful. I felt that Howard had come back.
So what's the secret, Tara? You, like I said, you've been in show business your entire life. A lot of child stars don't succeed in their later life. They can't take the pressure, or when the fame goes, they go with it. What's the secret? I mean, you are kind of astounding.
Well, the first thing, I was lucky I had good parents, and I listened to them. And I tell you, I think I had the best parents that anybody could possibly have. And Howard insisted my mother go everywhere with me. He wanted her there for protection.
Now, how old were you when
10.
you married? No,
Oh, no.
I know you were 10 when you married.
I thought you meant my first movie.
No.
I met him when I was 18. He saw me in that movie with Glenn Ford, my first grown-up movie, and I play an orphan, and Howard always felt he was an orphan. He lost his parents very young, and he told his projectionist, I'm going to marry that girl. Find out where she is, what she's done. They said she's just made a movie called Mighty Joe Young. Thank you. And it hasn't been released yet. It's been made by RKO. He said, by RKO. And that's how I first met him. And my school teacher at Columbia Studios, he would keep, asking me out or come to the studio with my parents and me. And she said, invite him to dinner and let him see he's out of your league. So I invited him to dinner, and we became really good friends. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And that's the way all relationships should start, a friendship, because it was wonderful.
Now, and isn't it odd, though? Because wasn't there, like, you and Jean Peters kind of changed husbands at some point? Wasn't that
Well,
how?
Jean Peters married Stuart Kramer, and then I married Stuart Kramer, and I have 2 sons with him. Those are where my children are from. And yes, and she went with Howard before I did. But by the time I was with Howard, she was with Stanley, who she ended up with. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Hollywood. It's an interesting place. But I want to go back to just for you to just talk a little bit about the secret of your longevity and the vitality that you have. Give me some lessons.
Well, I don't drink or smoke.
Well, that's not the lesson I want. No, skip that one. Move on to the next.
I do boot camp 3 times a week with a Korean captain from West Point. I do yoga twice a week. And on weekends, I walk 10 to 15 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is extraordinary.
And I eat healthy.
And you eat healthy. I know how well you kept yourself in shape, because I remember that issue of Playboy magazine. How old were you when you did that?
55.
55 years old. I remember when that was...
I was on the cover and 10 pages inside, and I'm the oldest person ever to do Playboy, and they didn't know, in '84, they still didn't have any retouching.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And were your parents around then?
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, but I have to ask, tell me a little bit about that. Why did you do that at 55 years of age? What made you do that?
Because in Hollywood, they think you're not any good, you're only good between 15 and 25, women. Men can go on forever, but not women. And I was sick and tired of it. And I decided to prove otherwise. And that's why I did it.
And I assume you plan to keep going on forever.
I just want to be another Betty White, that's all.
Well, I still can't explain to you why I think this movie is so weird, but I think it's fantastic, though, and I think you're absolutely great in it.
If you'd been around World War II like I was, Pearl Harbor Day, I was in church, 10 years old. I'll never forget it. I remember every battle in the war, and I followed World War II like you can't believe. And if you knew that and how proud we were, well, you kind of knew it when 9/11, how Americans all came together, the pride we had.
Sure.
And then you understand it better.
Okay, I'll take your word for that. Okay.
And also, I have been in the CIA.
Really?
Yeah, and I've done work for the FBI. I've worn my next book I'll talk about it. So it's not really surprising what went on there.
Okay. I can't wait. Wow, this sounds pretty good.
And an uncle by marriage was head of the CIA.
Oh, really? Wow. You're just full of secrets.
Richard Helms.
Wow, amazing. Well, I am just thrilled that you were able to join us here tonight, Terry. This is
Thank
a real
you.
delight. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the tomato. The great Terry Moore.